guys are having a great day. Happy Saturday. Happy big game weekend. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that word if my YouTube video will get a copyright strike if I call the big game by its actual trademark name. I was just thinking about that. But we're going to talk about that later. Hey, Take 6, Conrad, Diesel, Bamboso, all you guys in the chat, thanks for joining this morning. And yeah, so we're back in the old familiar TorqueSIm SR22, normally aspirated, continental, wonderful, study level aircraft that I love to fly so much. Officer Vinny, how you doing? Thanks for joining. And we are flying it in the HP Reverb G2 post my CPU upgrade. The Supper Bowl, yeah, Supper Bowl. There you go. Post my CPU upgrade, and I just posted a video actually yesterday about the results of that, going from an i7 6700 to a 10700K. It was a great decision. Well, it was a good decision on my part. I'm happy I did it. There was a lot of information that led to saying that it would be good, so I kind of minimized the risk. But I'm really happy. It's really improved things, especially in X-Plane and in FS2020 as well. But today is all about X-Plane and FSEconomy and VR and stuff. So we're going to talk a lot about that stuff today. Got a flight planned. We're at Roanoke, which is one of the FBOs owned by VR Aviation, the group that we run in FSEconomy, and we're going to talk about that too. And yeah, so we're parked here, ready to start her up and fly to about a 90-mile trip to Crew, W81, Whiskey 81, and then we'll fly back. So I think it'd probably be about 2 hours round trip, something like that. Make a little bit of money for FSEconomy. We'll have fun flying in this wonderful plane by TorqueSIm. This is the most recent update, 1.1.1, updated in January. They've been making excellent improvements on it. It's not a cheap plane. It's like $55, but you get actually the turbo version and the normally aspirated version, so you can fly whichever you choose. I tend to fly like this one. The reason, maybe it's more aesthetics. Like, I like the lighter colored cockpits, and the turbos all have the darker cockpits. I know that's kind of not a reason to fly. But I mean, I like the turbo too. But anyway, and there's a bunch of different liveries you can get for it. I'm using this dark blue livery, which is kind of cool. And I want to actually, at some point, do a livery for VR Aviation when I have some time to do that. So Conrad, you're looking at the 10700K after seeing the video. Yeah. Yeah, it's going from 6th generation to 10th generation, 4 cores to 8 cores, X-Plane 11 especially. I think Mike Brown, who is, I forget the name of his channel, he builds flight sim systems. He's in partnership with Laminar, I believe. He did a whole video on the CPU, and that's one of the things that I used as a reference to make my decision. But yeah, throwing 4 different additional cores at any simulator is going to have a great effect on it. So anyway, that's enough talk. Let's take a look at we're going to talk about that. We got plenty of time to talk about that. Let's take a look at what we're going to do today. All right, so we're in FSEconomy. I'm going to go through this whole thing for those of you who don't know how to use FSEconomy. Now, I've already selected the plane. All right, at Roanoke, I selected the Cirrus SR22 G2. And this is aliased, so it works with my system. Knock on wood. And we're going to go to Roanoke here, and you can see we've got a bunch of different flights. And again, VR Aviation owns this FBO at Roanoke. So we're going to fly from Crew. We're going to fly this mission from Crew. What I like to do first, though, is I like to open up the destination just to make sure I've got a round trip, so I do. So I'm going to take, we could fit 3 people in this aircraft. I'm going to take these 3 right there, close that, and we're going to take 3 from here. What I'm doing is I'm choosing the 1 passenger jobs, because if you look at it, the 2 passenger jobs, you don't make as much money, right? So I'd rather have $1,600 taking 2 people separately than 13. These are the little things you have to watch out for in FSEconomy. I'm not sure why they do that. I never understood why the pilot makes less money if they carry 2 people combined together. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because it allows you to save on those booking fees or something. I don't know. It's just one of those things that, that doesn't seem logical to me. Anyway, we're going to select these guys. Just do add to flight. Okay. Now we go to my flight, and we can see we've got our 3 people going out, 3 souls going out, and 3 souls coming back. We still haven't selected how we're going to fly, and we have the option here. We can fly as my username, Bambino, in which case the VR Aviation wouldn't make any money, okay? Do you have to pay extra booking fees for single passengers? If you go over 5 assignments, you have to pay booking fees. So basically, if I had let's say I'm flying the TBM, which has 7 seats, and I put 6 people in there, or 6 assignments in there, right? 5 of those assignments are single and 1 is a double. I have to pay booking fees. So if you keep to 5 or under, you pay no booking fees. The booking fees, by the way, go into the ether. No one gets them. The airport doesn't get them. No one gets them. They just take money out of the system. I don't really... It's been explained on the forums, and it is what it is. But, I try to avoid them by, if I can on a plane, like, for example, the TBM or the SC2, you try to avoid them by keeping, doing the double job, looking for jobs with multiple people in them, right? So, in any event, hopefully that answers your question, take 6. So what we're going to do here is now, we have enough fuel, probably 50 gallons is probably plenty of fuel to get there and back. So I'm not going to add any more fuel. If I wanted to, I could just refuel, right? And if you're using one of our FBOs, I'm just going to show you this. Do refuel. Choose, if you're at one of our FBOs, please choose our FBO rather than the local market, because then we make a little bit money on the gas. But we don't really need gas for this plane right now. So what we're going to do, in order to fly for VR Aviation, which I'm a member of, obviously, I'm going to hit Fly for VR Aviation. Boom. Okay? Now you can see this flight is being flown for VR Aviation, which means VR Aviation pays all the fuel, pays all the fees, and as a pilot, I get, I think it's 65% of whatever the total's going to be. Yeah, dude, you gotta buy VA fuel, man. It helps us. It's not great money, but it helps the VA, So what I'm going to get is this $49.62 right here. That's the total value of these assignments. Off the top of that, as a pilot, Bambino, I'm going to get 65% of that. That's the fee that we pay, okay, to pilots. So VR Aviation will take the rest of that. Let me show you an example. So we'll go into the log for VR Aviation here, okay? We'll take a look at this job here, that Crackerjack. You see Crackerjack is a maniac. Skid Mark. These are all people that fly for the group. So take a look at this guy here, okay? So you see the total income was $52.53, okay? And the pilot gets $34.14. That's 65% right off the top. The group paid all these fees. They paid the ground crew fee. If there was fuel, they would have paid that. If there was rental costs, they would have paid that. But this is a plane that we actually own, I believe, that he flew, because there's no rental, or maybe it's his own plane. And then the group gets whatever's left. So it would be $52.53 minus the pilot's fee, minus all the fees, and then the group gets a little stipend there. Hey, Alan, how you doing? So, or not a little, but probably about 30%, maybe 28%, something like that. So that's how the group survives. The other way is through banking and stuff, or I should say fees on landing fees and stuff. So, for example, if you look at the payment log here for VRA East, which is a little subgroup that I set up just for managing all the FBOs, you can see when someone lands at one of our FBOs, like here they landed at K Whiskey Alpha Yankee, we get these FPO ground crew fees, and those go into the kitty of the group. So that's how it kind of works. Anyway, we can answer more questions about that as we go along here. Let's get into the air. So we've got this all set up. You can see this is departing. All right, so this is all ready to go. And all I have to do is initiate this in the plugin on X-Plane 11 to start the flight. Okay, so let me get this off here. So we're all set to go there. Okay, we don't have to worry about anything else here. Okay, so now let's just take a look at our flight plan here. So, all right, so pretty simple. We're in the West Virginia, or I should say the Virginia area. Skidmark, yes, you do fly often. Thank you, much appreciated. So yeah, so we're coming out of Roanoke. We're gonna fly pretty much due east. All right, our speed's gonna be probably about 165 knots, so we can figure out. And our altitude, we're not gonna go that high. We'll go at 5,000 feet. Okay. So round trip's gonna be an hour. Not bad. All right, so you can see we're gonna come into crew here, and we've got this waypoint set up, so we're lined up with the runway. Okay, right, you own your own plane, exactly, so there's no rental fees. Nice of you to do that. And then when we on the way back, we're going to hit Knoll, and we'll come into the whichever. Let's see which runway this is here. Roanoke Airport diagrams. This will be runway 34. Okay. So that's going to be our flight plan. Now I have this plan already set up and configured. There's a way in X-Plane with the G1000 where you can have flight plans already set up, and you can just select them from the G1000 and load them in. So I have a lot of these already because I fly them so often. I have them predefined. All right, cool. All right, so that's that. We're all set to go here. Let's get inside the plane now. I actually am able to put chat in the plane here, so let me get inside that plane, and hopefully I should see. Ooh, I got to tell you, the Reverb 2 is such an upgrade. All right, cool. Now I could see chat. There you go, guys. All right, so now I'm using the X-Plane. You guys are seeing the actual X-Plane. What's the word I'm looking for? Mirror. Okay, because unfortunately with the G2, I really have not found any solid solution for a full screen mirror. The Windows Mixed Reality preview is very jaggedy and jumpy, as well as the Steam VR view. Steam VR view used to be great, but they did something to it and just hasn't worked well. So in any event, all right, so we're going to get this guy started here. So we're going to get our BAT1 on. Systems initializing. There's the Garmin coming up here. You guys can see on the screen there. All right, we're going to select this right here. Go through this stuff. We know all that. Okay. Get that warning off there. All right. And get BAT2 on. Oop. Oops, crap, I hit the wrong one. Darn it. We got the fuel pump on. I'm going to put mixture to full. I'm going to put the throttle to what do you call it? About 25%. All right, let's go to let's just go to checklist just to make sure I'm doing this right here. So all right, get bat 2 on. Okay. And we should be able to start this plane right now. Transponder fail. We'll have to figure that out. All right, so I've got a... Let me just stay here. All right, plane is... Oh, I don't have the brakes on. Darn it. For some reason, the brake isn't set. Okay, that was weird. All right, let's get... we're going to figure out the transponder failure. Avionics... Oh, come on. Nav. Strobe. And... Oh, the transponder's working out. Beautiful. Get rid of our checklist. We're not going by the checklist today. We're going by memory. Okay. All right, plane is started up. We're going to throttle her down to about 1,000. All right, good to go here. Nice and smooth in the cockpit. It's one thing I do want to check, though. I have to check to make sure there's this load manager is set to FSE override. We need that. If you don't have that on, then it won't work with flight FSEconomy. You got to make sure you select that FSE override. Maintenance, let's just refill the oil, okay. Inspect the fuel system, inspect engine, just inspect all this stuff. I just like to do this, all right. And then general, we don't want glass reflections on. Wear and tear features are good. We're all good there, so we can close this down. All right. Cool. We'll get our flight plan in. So we're going to go, let's see, let's go flight plan. And we're going to go get the cursor. And if I scroll down, I got to tell you, the G1000 on this in X-Plane 11 is so much better than FS2020. FS2020, they really need to fix it. You can't even read the insert flight plan. The text is so small. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right, we're going to Whiskey 81 from Roanoke. So right there, that's our flight plan, number 68. I already got it set in. So I just hit enter. Now that flight plan should be in there. And it is. All right, perfect. Okay. Let's see. So I want to go nav. And flight director's already on. I want to go, we want to set our altitude to, we said 5,000, right? We'll just fly at 5,000 today. We're going to just use vertical speed today. And we'll go at 600 feet per minute. That should be nice, easy ascent. And it's winter time, so let's get make sure our heat is on there, and we should be good to go. One new update, I guess the November update, you see here this display now. This is actually showing you the topographical view. The little plane, here's a representation of us right here, the plane. These are feet in thousands, right? So it'll show you the terrain. So you could see here we need to be at 3,000 feet or above to be safe, which is pretty cool. I think this is 10 miles and this is 20 miles. So it's giving you an upcoming topography, just a safety measure to be able to be accurate in your altitude, which is pretty cool. It's a cool feature. All right, so we're all set here. Not going to bother with the radios, guys, because we're in kind of in fake land here. So we're just flying a mission and chatting. So, but we got, for one thing we have to do is we've got to go into FSEconomy and open FSEconomy. Got to log in. It takes a few seconds sometimes. Hopefully it doesn't crash the system, because that would suck. You have to be patient. Come on. Gotta be patient. There you go. Beautiful. All right, good. So now we just do start flight. And we're all set here, showing us that our flight is started. I have a little green notification that you guys can't see that says enjoy your flight. So we got your 3 assignments, so we're ready to go there. Okay. And when we get to our destination, we'll have to let me just make sure. Ooh, I'd like to get this centered. All right, we're going to taxi. We're taking off to the east, so let's get our butts out of here. I love flying this plane. This plane is so much fun. Don't clip the wing. It is a little difficult to steer at times, though. It's because it's got this differential steering where you have to pop the brakes to have it steer. See those mountains in the background there? Yep, scenery not up to par to FS 2020. We all know that. I'm using Ortho 4XP, so it's about as good as it's going to get, unless you've got Orbix. But still, all in all, it's a great experience. We'll take off to the south, and then we'll hang a left turn, go east. If you like GA flying, this is one of the best planes, in my opinion, to fly in X-Plane 11 in VR. All right, which runway we got? 16. We're going to call ourselves 328 Tango Delta, even though I know the tail number is different. Roanoke traffic, departing runway 16 to the south. 328 Tango Delta. I know it's a towered airport, but let's get on the runway and get the hell out of here. We got our flaps set to take off. Get ourselves lined up here. And we are off and running. Their synthetic vision is awesome. They did such a great job with this plane. I hope they do a Vision Jet. Oh, that would be so great if they did a Vision Jet. All right, flaps up. You can see the smoothness. Again, and I'm streaming with OBS, right? So that's taking some of the GPU. And, but this CPU is just really, and Roanoke with all these trees and stuff, and with the scenery that I have here and stuff, usually this plane would be like staggering, you know. So that CPU made such a huge difference. All right, so let's get our, let's see, autopilot is on. Climb at 600 feet. Now remember, in this plane you got to check your tanks. Do I use a single shortcut out to the ortho folder on the other hard drive? Not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, I do have it on a separate hard drive, Skidmark. I think in the scenery file, whatever, I forget what that's called, the next plane. I have to take a look at it. I can't recall. All right. Autopilot's in the driver's seat. We are climbing slowly at 600 feet per minute. We probably could go a little faster, which we're going to do here. We'll crank her up to 800. Oops. Just look how smooth that is. It's super smooth. Always smoother out the front than it is on the at the wings, for some reason. All right, so we can probably just bring this back a little bit. So, guys, if you haven't hit the like button on this stream, please do. I'd appreciate it if you did that. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hope you do that too. I know I've got a lot of folks here that join me every Saturday morning at around 10 o'clock. We're going to do an overview of a financial status of VR Aviation in a few seconds here. That's the next thing we're going to do. And just want to get to altitude and get this plane flying safely. I'll take a look at my scenery file. What's it called? I forget what the file's called, and see how I have that set up. I think I have it to one shortcut. I think that is correct. That's how I have it set up. I just haven't messed with it. Literally in like 2 years, I haven't touched it. Because I went through this massive generation of Ortho 4XP over like a week. And then I just really haven't had to do anything, because I've done pretty much all the East Coast and a lot of the West Coast, and all, Hawaii and all the areas that I really like to fly, and then that was it. Some places in the Caribbean. All right, we're coming up to 5,000. Planes should start leveling off. We can start to use our mixture to get our fuel consumption down. Like to keep it around 18. Tazzle, how you doing for the land down under? Do I have time to talk about my history with flight simulators? You're a sucker for a good origin story. Yeah, I do actually. We could certainly talk about that. It's definitely going to reveal my age. You're going to move it to a newer computer. Your ortho to a new computer. Oh, separate computer. Oh, wow. That's interesting. All right, I'm going to pull back on the throttle here a little bit. All right, we got our mixture. Now we're burning pretty economical 15.8 gallons per hour. All right, I'm going to go switch over to the right tank. One thing they fixed is this used to be really shaky. Like, you couldn't control it very well with this controller, and it would like go to the off. Even with the old controller that I used, with the CV1, it would go to like the off selection. So they certainly fixed that. All right, so we're at a nice 5,000 feet. You see those white spots? That's because when the satellites took the picture for the ortho images that I'm using, there were clouds. So, unfortunately, you get those cloud images overlaying. So, origins. So, let's see. The first time I ever used a flight simulator was on an Apple II. And it was when Flight Simulator was developed and published by a company called Sublogic. I want to say that was probably around 82, somewhere around there. Okay. And it was literally on the CRT display on the Apple II, and for the most part, it was just vector lines that showed you like a representation of a runway and a very rudimentary, Meigs Field. I think you're right. It was very limited in the number of airports, and everything was super limited, but you got the sense of aviation in a 2D mode. You had altitude, throttle, engine speed, compass. Pretty much that was it. It was all like radio navigation. So I actually learned how to do radio navigation, which I had subsequently forgot because I took a hiatus from flight simulation for many, many, many years while my kids were growing up. I just didn't have time and all that. So that was the first experience. And then it's pretty quickly after, when the Mac came out, the first Mac, I had a 512K Mac. I used to work for an Apple dealer. So I had access, the early days, before the Apple store, there were Apple dealers. And I had early access to, and, cost that. I used to buy my computers at cost. So I was an Apple II guy, and then I think it came out for the Apple III, because I had an Apple III. Sublogic had an Apple III version, which was a little faster. And then it came out for the Mac, the first original Mac. Spectrum Holobyte. I remember that too. Yeah. Then it came out for the Mac, and that was a little bit better because now it was like an image versus the CRT, right? You could actually see, and it was still rudimentary, but you could see like some buildings, and the runway was a little bit more. And I'm sure if you looked on Google, you could say like, Apple flight simulators, and I'm sure there's images of that. Okay. Falcon 4. I actually think I knew the guy who developed Falcon. That was a game, right? In any event, So Mac, and then I stayed on the Mac flight simulators. I think I went to like from a Mac 512K to a Power Mac, and you know, all these thousands of dollars on Macintoshes as Mac OS got better and better. And then I shifted. Then I stopped. You know, probably in the like mid 80s or something like that, because work was, you know, career was focused and had kids, started to have kids and stuff, so no flight simulation until about 5 years ago, so there was a big hiatus, right? And then about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I got involved with X-Plane, and I started to play around with that. I built a gaming PC, and then I started to get into VR. I found Fly Inside. I bought the original Razer HMD. I forget what it was called. That was about 5 years ago. It kind of sucked. It had a single sensor. I forget what it was called. But I sold that and put the money out and bought a CV1. And the Oculus CV1. And that, with Fly Inside and Aerofly and let's see, what else? DCS, okay, got me into flight simulation in VR. And then, you know, obviously, as you guys know, who fly in VR, once you fly in VR, it's nearly impossible to go back to 2D, right? And so that, you know, we were as the community started to build, there were very few of us flying in VR, probably 5 or 6 years ago. And then we started to, you know, there started to build a community of people that were like-minded. We put the VR Aviation Facebook group together. That idea for that actually, yeah, we must have just changed scenery there. The idea for that actually happened on a stream that I was doing with Belgeode and Donovan, and I just said, hey, why don't we start this Facebook group? Do you think people will join it? And it was very few people on the stream. They're like, yeah, you should do that. So we put that together, and now we've got 3,100 people in the Facebook group. But yeah, so DCS is a massive learning curve. Yeah. Hey, Steve Jones, how you doing? Always good to see you, dude. Hate to go back to flat. Yeah, exactly. Take 6. You know, like for example, when Microsoft Flight Simulator was released in August, we all had to go back to 2D to try to fly it, and I actually did that until December 23rd when they came out with VR. But yeah, so that's sort of my history. The bulk of my experience in flight simulation has been in the last 5 or 6 years. Getting into the VR stuff, you know. I don't want to say I was an early adopter, but I was an early user, you know. And I tried to, when Laminar Research decided that they were going to do native VR, I actually worked with Chris there and some others, you know, actually it was Chris really, on alpha testing some of the stuff they were doing, especially like with the laser pointers, and you know, he would send me code, and I would you know, I would fly like in stock. I used pretty much stock planes, and just give him feedback on how it was running on my system, right? And because yeah, so that was a really cool time, and I learned a lot about it. And I remember there was this one time when I was testing some code a version that he had released, and I noticed that at certain frame rates, things smoothed out. Like, it was like 30 frames per second, or there was another one, like, it was like, I forget what it was, like an odd number. And like, if it was like 5 frames below that, it would be jaggedy, but if it was at this frame rate and you were using ASW, it would be like smooth as silk. 27.5, some strange number. And I think it turned out that was like for ASW, which is what I was using, what is it, asynchronous, or what, I forget what it's called in Oculus. Anyway, there's some kind of cool things, tinkering and stuff like that, very early on, right? You got to remember, this is before like the Pimax and all of the tools they came out, the OVR tool, all that stuff. It's before all of that came out. This is basically native. This was native VR with the CV1 with no tools, right? So that was all cool stuff. So anyway, Conrad, that's my backstory on getting involved with flight simulation. I've always been enamored with flying, and I'll tell you the reason why is because my great-grandfather was a notorious character. He was a bootlegger in New Jersey, one of the biggest bootleggers in Monmouth County in New Jersey, down by the Jersey Shore area, the northern Jersey Shore area. And he started out by doing his bootlegging with boats, okay? And as he progressed, he moved up to planes. And he actually had four or five or six aircraft, and they were all sister ships to the Spirit of St. Louis. So he had that similar plane that Lindbergh flew, same company and all that, right? And I remember when I was a little kid, he was old, very old. He died like in his 80s when I was young, I was like 5 or 6 years old, maybe younger. But I remember when I grew up in my teens, I was looking through this box of stuff that my mother had, and it was his flight logs, And this guy flew all over the place, from New Jersey to Florida. He was flying after the bootlegging, after Prohibition was repealed. He went into cargo and mail, hauling cargo and mail, and he would fly. He had flight logs from like New Jersey to Florida, flying postal routes. He had an airport that he built in North Carolina, and he was flying to like South America, Peru and Costa Rica, all these. And I was like looking at all these places where he flew. It was pretty wild. But the sad story is, and the reason, and he was a multimillionaire, right? Made all his money on Prohibition. The sad part of the story is that he had 1929 was the worst year of his life, or around those times. First of all, he had a hurricane take out his airport in South Carolina. I think it was in North Carolina, and it took out all the structures in his airport and all of his airplanes, and he didn't have any insurance. So that was done, right? And then either subsequently after that, he had invested in all these paper companies in the stock market, and he got crushed by the stock market crash in '29 and lost everything. My grandmother would tell stories that her and her sisters, she had four sisters. When they were little kids, they'd have a limousine take them to and from school. They had a driver take them to and from school. That's like the kind of money this guy had. I remember when I was a little kid, he had this big safe in his house, and there was nothing in it because at that time he had lost all his money. But there was this big safe, and it was this huge safe, and I just remember like I have like a vivid memory because it was, something I had never seen before. But in any event, it's kind of a tragic thing. The guy, made a lot of money, and apparently, according to my grandmother, he had relationships with Dutch Schultz and Joe Kennedy. And the one story that my aunt told me that was verified by a book that I read was, you heard this expression, the real McCoy. And that expression apparently came from this guy Bill McCoy, who was a rum runner, who used to he had a boat. I forget the name of the boat. A ship, basically, a sailing ship. He would go up to Canada, Nova Scotia, or somewhere, and he would load up with rum, and he would come down to just outside of the New York Harbor area and off the coast of like Atlantic City and Seabright in New Jersey. And all of the small boats would go out to him, and they would load up with their booze. And that was my great grandfather. He had a couple of boats. They would go out, and they would load up on booze. And when they brought it back, they would sell to their customers. And the question was, is this the real McCoy? Which meant, did it come from Bill McCoy's boat? Which meant that it came from Canada. It was real, distilled spirits versus something that was made in someone's bathtub, right? So that's apparently where the expression "the real McCoy" came from. And I think there's actually a book about Bill McCoy where he actually mentions my great grandfather by his nickname. But anyway, so that kind of verifies everything. It's kind of a cool thing, But in any event, long story short, that's where I think I got my interest in flying, because of seeing his logbooks and knowing that he was a self-taught pilot, kind of like motivated me. Anyway, so that's kind of it. All right, well, we got 30 miles to our first waypoint here at Agidi, I guess pronounced it. I just got to check my text here. My wife just texted me. She works in a hospital, and and you thought Canada was famous for hockey and poutine. Oh no. Hey, Donovan. So Donovan was one of the guys that was on that original stream with me and Drew when we were talking about starting the VR Aviators group. Hey, Donovan, how you doing? I haven't seen you in there. In fact, I think I may have removed you from being a moderator. I can't remember if I did or not. If I did and you want to be a moderator, I'm sorry, and I should make you a moderator. But so meet Donovan. He's a great guy, and he was one of the guys that when we hatched that idea to start VR Aviators group on Facebook. And every once in a while he shows up in a stream. He's an X-Plane guy, pretty sure. VR guy. But how you doing, Donovan? Yeah, so, as a lot of you guys know, you're not on Facebook anymore. Yeah, I'm rarely on there too, dude. I'm rarely on there too. The only thing I do on Facebook is stuff for this. All right, I'm going to actually get my altitude lower here. We'll go down to, just to make it easy, we'll let the computer take us down to 2,000 feet. Let's see, vertical speed, 500 feet per minute. Always lurking, yeah, there you go. Well, it's good to see you, man. I'm glad everything's going okay. I was actually thinking about you. I was like, geez, I haven't heard from that guy in a long time. Hope he's okay. So it's good to see you're okay, man. But yeah, so that's my story. Had the stock market crash not happened, and had my great grandfather had insurance, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. I would probably be one of those hedge fund assholes. Anyway, but that's okay. All right, so a couple things I wanted to talk about today was the CPU upgrade. So I got that video. If you guys are interested, just posted a video going from a i7 6700 to a 10700K great improvement in X-Plane 11, in Microsoft Flight Simulator, in everything that I'm doing on my computer. It's been a fantastic American Truck Simulator. I've tried a lot of things. It's great. In fact, I'm going to be doing some ATS VR very soon, guys. It's very cool. Also, this game that I found called Rolling Line, which is a model train simulator, which is amazing. I showed a little clip of it last week towards the end of the stream, and it's pretty cool. May you suggest a future topic of the fuel drum? Ooh, for FSE. Yeah, that's a good idea. Because it confuses people, the fuel drum. Yeah. It's a good idea. Skid Mark with another great idea. So anyway, yeah, so that was that. The second thing is, there is a company called, hold on, let me get my thing up here. There's a company called VR Wave. Now, if you guys wear eyeglasses and you're into VR, these guys make inserts for certain headsets. Now, the headsets that they provide them are the Quest 2, the Reverb G2, and HTC Series, and also PSVR. Now, they normally provide prescription inserts. Okay, these are the HP Reverb G2 lenses. Okay. I actually contacted these guys, and because I was interested in getting the blue light filters, because I've been worried about my eyes being so close to the panels in a headset that blue light, can cause eye fatigue and other things. So in any event, and I wear readers in normal life, right? So I like when you look at a computer screen, I use a 1.25 magnified readers. I don't use prescription glasses, and the readers are perfect. I actually went to an eye doctor. He checked my eyes. He said, well, you're borderline. He goes, if the readers help, just use those. I said, okay, fine. So that's what I've been doing, and 1.25 has been my standard for the last, 6-7 years, okay? Now, I said to myself, well, what if it had readers inside the G2? Now, I have this little set of thin optics. They're the kind of they're super thin readers that you can stick on the back of your phone. You've probably seen them. You can pull them out in a restaurant and put them on, and they just they rest on the bridge of your nose, kind of thing. So I have a pair of those, and I was able to get them into the headset, okay, so that I could test out to see if there would be a difference. Because when I contacted the guys at VR Wave, they're like, well, we normally don't make prescription. We don't make readers. We make prescription. So have you tried them before? I said, have you tried readers with your headset? So I said, no, let me check it out. So I tried it, and I'm like, wow, what a difference. It made a super big difference in looking at up-close stuff like on the panel and also in the distance. So it made a difference. So I contacted them, and they said they would be willing to make me a pair of 1.25 magnified blue light filtered inserts for the G2. Well, they arrived last night. I haven't even opened them yet. So I plan to do a video on those. I'm going to open them up, take a look at them, show you what it's like to install them in a G2, and give you my impressions of them. So thanks to the VR Wave, who were kind enough to provide those for me. They're reasonably priced. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's a reasonably priced. They provided to me free of charge, and asked me to check them out and to do a video if I'd like to. So I'm not getting paid to do the video, but they gave me the product. So it's a product placement, and I'll note that when I do the video. But as you guys know, I'm going to be honest with. I'm going to be brutally honest with it, right? I'm not going to guide people on this product if I don't think it's really good. So that's look for that video soon, and again, probably today or later today or tomorrow, I'm going to check these things out, and I'm really anxious to do it. I didn't have time to do it before the stream today, and I didn't want to really. I want to do first impressions in a video, right? So, you know, unfortunately, I don't have them installed yet. Now, I think that they serve two purposes. One, yes, they're going to amplify or magnify your vision, or three purposes. Two, they're going to do the filtering, if you want that. And three, they're going to keep your lenses clean in your headset. So when you make sure your before you install these things, I'm going to make sure my lenses are super clean inside the G2, and then once I install these, nothing is going to get on those lenses. And as you know, especially if you're tilting it up a lot, you get I know this is going to be gross, oils from your forehead or skin or dead skin, all kinds of stuff gets on there. Well, if you have these inserts on there, your lenses are going to stay clean. You could just take the inserts out, clean the inserts, put them back in, right? So it serves that purpose. In any event, I'm really excited to try them out, and I want to just say thanks to the folks at VR Wave who were willing to send me a set of those, and we'll be checking those out. Diesel, you have the VR Waves, and you like them? You have prescriptions? Missing airports is another topic. How to avoid getting stuck with a mission in an invalid airport. Yeah, we've all had that problem. In fact, I had that problem the other day in On Air. It happens in On Air too. That's a video I could definitely do one on. VR Lens Lab. Okay. Yeah, another company that makes them, VR Lens Lab. They've been around a while. Where can you read about my grandfather? Well, he's actually my great-grandfather. Oh, here's our... I got to get ready to land here. He's actually my great-grandfather. And unfortunately, there's no books about him. There is this one book about Bill McCoy that I think he's mentioned in. And he's mentioned by a nickname that I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember the name of his nickname, but yeah, I'll have to look and see what the name of that book is. But unfortunately, there's no book about him. I was actually thinking about writing a book about him. I'm not an author, but the research would be fun to do. I don't know. It's a memory and a story that I tell my kids, and hopefully they'll tell their kids, kind of thing, I think it would be a greater story if he ended up, being in, because he had the relationship with the Kennedys, somehow involved with that thing, but that didn't happen. Yeah, protect my identity. Yeah, I can't remember the guys. I can't remember the nickname. This is so smooth. I don't ever remember landing at this airport being this smooth before. All right, we are home. Now the brakes will heat up on this. And I definitely should have, I'm going to have to buy some fuel here, I think. Actually, I don't like rum, and there's another story behind why. It's because when I was in my 20s, in my partying days, I drank an awful lot of Bacardi 151. An awful lot. And ever since then, I mean, I can take a pina colada because the rum taste is really kind of buried in that, or, but I can't drink like a rum and coke. No. I actually get physically ill to my stomach. All right, we're going to line up for our takeoff here. Beautiful. Parking brake on. Now on X-Plane 11, sometimes you have to, in FSEconomy, when you put that parking brake on, it should end the flight. Let's just make sure that flight was ended. For some reason, the parking brake in this plane doesn't always end the flight. There we go. You have to like do it a couple of times. Because in FSEconomy, it's the flight plane that the what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? The parking brake that ends the flight. Okay, let me just close down a couple things here that I didn't realize that were running that shouldn't be running. All right, so finish flight. Boom. All right, so if we go to our FSEconomy, you can see that that flight is finished. Let's go to log, VR Aviation. There's our flight right there. And let's check this out. So we made $1,600. The group made $18. You can see the group will pay this ground fee and all that. Okay. Edwin, how you doing? Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it. What controllers am I using? I'm using the HP Reverb G2 controllers. I wanted to talk about that. You lit the bottle of 151 once with a lighter in 1979. Yeah. All right, so let's go to my flight here. We still have this plane. We still have 40 gallons of gas. So we burned about 11 gallons of gas. We really don't need any more gas, so I'm not going to put any more in there. We're still flying for VR Aviation. Okay. So we're good there. All we have to do is, now is because we have our flight plan going back already installed. Yeah, no, Edwin, still no motion controller support in FS 2020. So here's our flight going back. So let's, we're good there. Let's get this off here. And all we need to do now is we need to start up FSEconomy, start the flight. Boom, we're good. We got our 3 souls on board. And get back in this beautiful plane of ours. We'll fly at 5,000 again. That was a good. I know we have to be above 4,000 as we go through those mountains coming into Roanoke. All right, we're going to go vertical speed, and we're going to go. We'll go 700. And let's see, anything else we need to do? Looks like our what do you call it? Our tanks are pretty balanced. So let's get the hell out of here. Break off. Trim set. Where's the trim? Oh, trim's right there. See, we're going to move the trim to take off. It's on the controller right there. See, it says to take off, right? So we got the trim to take off. Let's rev her up. Mixture's full. And we're off. Smooth as silk, baby. Rotate. Airspeed is alive. Flaps are up. Let's get our autopilot going. So, yeah, so that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about some things that Laminar Research need to take care of. Now, they report, I was looking back, and they reported that they were looking into the Reverb G2 controllers in November, okay? Late November. We still don't have a correction for that, okay? I'm using them, okay? But it looks like the X-Plane, the X-Plane controller, I can't bring up the menu systems. I can't, do stuff like, remember in the old... with the touch control, we had the butterfly where you could bring up all the menus and all the functionality. None of that is done. Okay. I know they have to program it, but we're talking November now, and the G2 is a popular headset. People are buying this headset for VR aviation. It's next to the Quest 2, it's probably right now the most popular. Okay. So I really hope that Laminar puts a priority on getting that fixed, creating the configuration files for specifically and the functionality for this controller, because frankly it's limiting. You have to break immersion to go back and do things like I was just doing there, like selecting FSEconomy. Or if I want to do like a replay or a lot of, anything in the menu system, reset the flight, set the weather, set the time, anything in the menu system, you have to go back into 2D. So hopefully at some point soon, they'll come up with a fix for that. Hey, so I already upgraded the CPU, went from a 6700 to 10700K. I just dropped a video on that, if you want to check that out. And so it's been great. I'm still using a 1080 Ti, and right now I'm still pretty happy with that. I'm planning on going to either 3070 or a 3080. Probably a 3080. We'll see. But in any event, so it's going very well, actually. And I upgraded memory, too. I went from 24 megahertz to 36 megahertz memory, 32 gig. I had 32 gig before. I had 4 sticks of 8, and I bought 2 sticks of 16, but 36 megahertz. Installed it, and my motherboard, I didn't realize I was running it. And I went and looked at Windows. I'm only running at 2100 megahertz. I'm like, what's going on? Didn't realize I had to go into the motherboard and, basically enable, I guess it's XMP, whatever it is, Intel's XMP. And anyway, once I did that, it started working. And I think that in combination with the CPU has had a really positive effect on performance in X-Plane 11 and Microsoft Flight Simulator. So, yeah, so the PC upgrades have been, so far, has been very good. The next step is, like I said, probably going to a 30 series GPU. So, yeah. But for now, the 1080 Ti is fine. So, let's hope, or maybe if you guys want to send a note to Laminar or something and just say, look, guys, give us the G2 controllers, man. Please. I know you got a lot going on, got a lot to do, but it would be really great if they come up with an update for that soon. Donovan, which is asking, which do I prefer, VR and X-Plane 11 or Microsoft Flight Simulator? Yeah, so it's not a simple answer. I prefer X-Plane 11 VR, and it's because of what I'm experiencing here, right? The smoothness of flight in a study-level aircraft, right? You don't really have any study-level aircraft on FS 2020, right? Some are close to it maybe, but you don't have, unless with mods or whatever, but I like flying study-level GA aircraft in VR, and I personally think the flight modeling is better in X-Plane 11. Everything is better in X-Plane 11 except the scenery, let's put it that way, okay? For example, like this plane is amazingly detailed. It's better than anything I've seen in Microsoft Flight Simulator, okay? But obviously the scenery, and I'm using ortho, isn't the greatest. And when you're flying in VR in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you get a real sense of realness, if you will, right? For lack of a better word. Because things aren't just flat and repetitive. In X-Plane 11, the houses they all look the same. It's like Lego houses. In Microsoft Flight Simulator, every house is a little different. Every building is a little different. So that difference gives your eye and your brain the thought of it being closer to reality. I think they've got a big challenge with this whole idea of cloud-based scenery. Constantly downloading scenery from the cloud, scenery information. I'm not sure exactly the mechanics of it, but there's a lot of internet activity, and I think that adds to frame time latency, where you don't have that with X-Plane 11. Everything is local. It's on your hard drive, so the only latency you have is on the bus, the PCI bus or the SATA bus between your drive and your CPU and memory, right? So when you put the internet in the middle of scenery, I don't, for those of you involved with the networking, you understand what I'm talking about. The internet's a beast that you can't control, right? I'm talking about the infrastructure of it. There's thousands of routers. They're in different places. They all have, different connections with different issues, and there's drop packets, and there's all kinds of things going on in the internet that we don't see when we're just, on Wi-Fi going, accessing Google, right? So Asobu and Microsoft have decided they were going to throw the internet into the latency mix by doing this cloud-based scenery, and it's a great idea, but I think it causes frame stuttering through frame time reduction, or increase, I should say, increase. So I think, you know, if you're on FiOS or a fiber optic connection for your internet access, you probably experience less of that. But if you've got traditional copper internet access in a remote area, you might have some considerable latency added to your FS2020 flight experience because of that cloud-based scenery. Yeah. Not wrong about latency, but that's where cache comes. Yes, I agree. The problem is, if you're talking about cache on FS2020, I'm not sure how. I think they've improved it. Hold on a second. I think I have to sneeze. Nope. I think they've improved it. It's gotten better, certainly. The VR release, when they released VR in December, I saw a significant improvement in performance. So they did something there, and I think maybe it was caching or whatever. But yeah, I mean that's how you do the caching. But there's still, you know, it's a noble attempt, and it's a great architecture because, you know, you're saving people lots and lots of disk space by doing that. Okay, and you're updating the scenery in one place. It's, you know, it makes a lot of sense. You know, the whole idea makes a whole lot of sense from an architecture perspective. I just think that for some people it will add to latency. But back to the original question, I see a lot more stuttering in FS2020 and VR than I do in X-Plane 11. Okay, part of that could be I'm using a 1080 Ti. FS2020 is very GPU heavy or reliant. But I, you know, like Steve, the VR sim guy, he's got a 3090, and VR Pilot, he's got a 3090. I know that Steve has posted videos where he's seen some stuttering with a 3090, maybe micro stuttering, but. And you would think that if you put a 3090 on any application, it would run as smooth as silk. So, and he's got a beefy he just bought a very beefy gaming machine. It's got I think he's got and I know he's got a 10th gen CPU. So in any event, I prefer X-Plane 11 in VR. Long answer to a simple question. You deleted your Conrad. You deleted your X-Plane Ortho and committed it to. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, fortunately, I've got enough. I personally have enough space to. I actually have my regular cache, like the rolling cache, on an SSD. 80 gigabytes on an SSD. And I've got X-Plane 11 Ortho on a 6 terabyte hard drive. So, eight terabytes of Ortho. Yeah, I've got about 5 terabytes of Ortho. Yeah, I know. It's going to be interesting. This is what I want to talk about too. How's Laminar? You know, X-Plane 12. I know they're working on it. I have it from a very high source at Laminar. Some good things are going to be coming. X-Plane 12. They've got, you know, they've got an answer to. They've got to have an answer to what Asobu's done. So, how are they going to handle graphics? How are they going to handle scenery? You know, it's pretty obvious their Achilles heel is their scenery. I mean, we all know if you're not running Ortho, it just looks awful, right? It's terrible. It's 20-year-old implementation. So they made the jump to Vulkan, which made a huge difference. How are they going to handle scenery in X-Plane 12? Going to be interesting. Are they going to use the same technique, this cloud-based, cache-based scenery, It would make sense that they would do it. They're probably not going to use Bing. Maybe they'll use Google Earth. Maybe Google Earth will one-up Bing. We'll see, you know. Let's see. Is there going to be an MFS update this coming next week? I'm not sure. I think they delayed the last one. Not sure. So, Alan, don't recall which patch, but was experiencing very little issues nowadays when flying. Yeah, I think it was the patch right when they introduced VR, Alan. That's the one that I noticed a huge difference. Yes, they need to have better CPU utilization. I agree. Hey, Sar, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Not sure they'll change the scenery in X-Plane 12. Instead, they will focus on, oh, yeah, MMO and weather. Well, Sar, I know what you're saying, but I want to tell you that putting my marketing hat on, I don't think that X-Plane 12 will survive criticism if they don't come up with some way to match what FS 2020 has done with scenery. Let's face it, the biggest gain of FS 2020 is their scenery. That's what their primary differentiator is, right? X-Plane 11's differentiator is flight modeling and study-level aircraft. Okay? Well, those two things FS 2020 can catch up with. Right? They can catch... And they have. They've gotten better with the flight modeling. There's companies that are... I know they've had some stumble with their SDK, but there's third parties that are developing study level. So that's all going to... the water levels are going to rise to meet each other between those two solutions, you know. But I think that X-Plane 12, in order for it to keep its water level high in comparison to FS 2020 and FS 2021 and whatever comes after it, right, they're going to have to address scenery. Because the majority of the market wants that visual. We're visual people, right? We're raised on the television, right? We're visual people, okay? We want that scenery. Why am I attracted to go back to FS 2020? Well, it's not because the SR22 is so great. It's not. It doesn't come near this plane. It's because the scenery is so cool. Flying into San Diego or flying into Paris or London City or any of those airports, the scenery looks so cool in VR. Okay? To get that, I can't get that same level in X-Plane 11. So that is a major differentiator. And X-Plane 12 is going to have to, I believe, they're going to have to raise their bar. And to do that, how do you do that? Well, you know, Google Earth is a standard for 3D imaging of the world around us, right? It's Google Earth is... First time I saw Google Earth on the VR, I was, you know, I almost fainted. It's so amazing. That's one way for them to outbrand Microsoft. Microsoft uses Bing. Bing, we all know Bing is like the second cousin to Google, right? We kind of know that, right? That's kind of like from a brand perspective, right? So if I'm Laminar, I partner up with the biggest name in the internet and one of the biggest names in 3D representation on the internet, and I throw the Google brand all over. That would interest people. If you heard that X-Plane 12 was coming out, and this is all conjecture, right? If you heard that X-Plane 11 was coming out, You say contra Bing? Yeah, no, I know they own Bing. Yeah, absolutely. I know they own Bing. That's why they're using it, right? So, and they're never going to use Google Earth, ever, because it's a competitor. So, as a flight simulation interest person, right, enthusiast, if X-Plane 12 comes out and says our scenery is going to be based on Google Earth, I'm going to want to look at that. I am going to want to take a hard look at that, because I already know that the planes are better in X-Plane, the flight simulation is better in X-Plane, the radio communication is better in X-Plane, the navigation is better in X-Plane, okay? Important things to virtual pilots, right? If they up their game on the scenery, they will become as big as Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's just my opinion. Just reading the comments here. Way better for planes. Yes, I agree with you, Donovan. MSS seems to have more focused on the big birds. Yes, but even their big birds suck without modification. The scenery is a game changer. I agree with you. Flying into different countries and checking. I agree with you. People are visual people. Austin Starr says, Austin says he does not want ortho. Okay, I agree with that. No ortho. So I don't know what he is keeping behind his back. In the meantime, I saw his work on world weather. Yes, I agree weather is important. 100%. I believe that they're going to one up. Austin's a competitive guy. He wants to have the best simulator in the market. Don't let anybody kid you. And for a long time, he did. Before August 18th, 2020, he was it. His simulator was it, okay? Then all of a sudden, hundreds of thousands of people bought a Sobo's product instead of his. I don't know about you, but if I'm running Laminar, I got a meeting with my marketing people, and I'm saying, okay, we just lost the opportunity of a major revenue stream here. What are we doing? How are we going to get? We have the hardcore simmer because they want all these hardcore things. We appeal to them, but I want to raise my revenue. We have to make it simpler, and we got to make it more eye appealing. So you can't disagree. Yeah, Google Earth would absolutely be a major competitive advantage in X-Plane 12. SAR says in MFS, you're never bored. Yep, I agree. Oh yeah, it was absolutely. It was not a secret. I totally agree with you, Donovan. They marketed it for 6 months with those amazing Hollywood level promo videos that were nowhere near the experience that we all had when we first downloaded it. And they showed that scenery. And, Laminar's got a lot of commercial contracts, and I think that's where they make the bulk of their money. But they also have a lot of users. And their X-Plane, they've paid for X-Plane 11, $60, okay? But those same people, like me and you and a lot of people who are watching the stream, have also paid another $60 to $120 for a competitive product. Okay? Well, when X-Plane 12 comes out, whenever that is, I don't know, 8 months from now, I don't know, when it comes out, they're going to want to make people part with $60, $70, $80 for another piece of software to go from X-Plane 11 to X-Plane 12. In order to do that, they're going to have a differentiator, major differentiator. And it can't just be flight modeling. And it can't just be study level planes, because the majority of the people that bought Microsoft Flight Simulator don't care about those things. They're, there's different types of consumers of this genre. There's the people that are in the stream that are probably more detail oriented. They want the detail, okay? They want the real piloting experience. And then there's the people that want to fly FS2020 on an Xbox, because they just want to fly around like they do in Grand Theft Auto. Nothing wrong with that at all. Okay? It's a different TAM, different target market, right? So they need to, Laminar can become very big if they want to, in my humble opinion, if they address that TAM, that percentage. And I think it's the larger percentage of the market who only wants the game versus simulator, right? They want the game because they want the visual eye candy. They want the experience of flying a Cessna 172 or jumping into a A320 with assisted flying, okay, because they want, they don't care about having everything realistic. They just want to be able to feel good about getting into a simulator, right? So Laminar would be wise to, I think they'd be really wise to address that TAM. Yeah, you'll support them both, SAR, because you're a flight simulator enthusiast, okay? And you're a different level, consumer of the software. But there's a majority of the people that bought, in my belief, the majority of the people that bought Microsoft Flight Simulator aren't like you. They're the occasional user, right? And that's, if Laminar wants to build their company, I need to switch tanks, otherwise I'm going to run out of fuel. Yeah, we all have our sort of our interest, right? And our prejudice, I call it product prejudice, right? We have product prejudice. Because people too, they want to say, because I chose this product, it's the best. So that's why you see these arguments on social media about X-Plane versus Flight Simulator, which to me is ridiculous, but some people feel the need to defend their decision, right? But I agree. Both have their place. Have I tried the Hold My Beer SR22? No, I haven't. I saw it. It came out. I knew this one was coming out, and I was going to buy it because I know Coop, who's involved with it, and we had some discussions prior, and I just was really looking forward to this plane. I never tried to Hold My Beer. I heard it's pretty good. Yes, Donovan, Hold My Beer is actually free. It's a freeware. So, Bimbasa, how you doing, man? So your specs are about the same as the guys. 3090 HP. Oh, okay. So you're using a 3090 and you're getting micro stuttering? I guess that's with the FS2020, right? Yeah. So I've heard the Hold My Beer is a good plane, but I bought this one. I actually had the SR20, the V-Flight Air SR20, but they stopped. They had their own G1000, which was pretty crappy. It was okay. It was before. Let me put it this way: it was before Laminar released their G1000, so it was good for the time. But then Laminars blew it away, and they never integrated it into the new plane, into their plane. So, and this is an SR22. I'd rather fly a 22. All right, we're hitting our waypoint here at Knoll. We're going to come down to... What's cool about the G2 is you can actually see the airport. It's pretty cool. Yeah, the V-Flight was an SR20. It's an SR20. Sarone, how you doing? How you doing, as they say in New Jersey? How you doing? So, guys, listen. If you haven't checked out the Virtual Reality Aviators group on Facebook, just do a search on VR Aviators and join up the group. We got 30, almost over 3,000 people. This is the group that I spoke about before. Donovan was involved with getting started. And join up. We got some great content on there. If you got questions about VR aviation, a lot of people can help you. So make sure you check that out, okay? All right. Coming into Roanoke. Let me just enjoy this virtual experience here. Okay, so you've been using FS2020 mostly. Yeah. I went through that phase too. There was a while there where I didn't really use X-Plane much at all. But once I got the G2, I went back to it. Yeah, I guess I forgot to set my mixture. So I burned a lot of gas. That's all right. It's fake gas anyway. I am really anxious to find those, to try to use those inserts for vision correction. I can't wait to check that out. I tell you, one big difference between X-Plane 11 and FS2020 is FS2020 is washed out. Their colors are washed out, especially in the G2. And it's not the G2, because here I am in X-Plane and it is not washed out. Now, I know Asobu said in their last developer stream, that they're looking into that, giving you a slider to control brightness, but I think it's more contrast. It is so washed out in VR, like when you look in the distance, it's almost like, it almost hurts your eyes. Anybody else experience that washout? All right, so we're going to get on the ground here, and then we're going to do an overview of where we are with the VR Aviation Group and FS 2020, the February business update. So smooth. This is so smooth. Oh my God, it's so smooth. All right, we're going to throttle down and just bleed that energy out of the aircraft and let it just come down nice and easy. On the ground. Got to watch the brakes because they do overheat. GA's right over there. I'm still mastering the steering on this plane, so don't mind my not sticking to the yellow lines. Still mastering the steering. You know, like in the 172, I can like drive it like a car. This plane, because of the differential steering, I guess it's called. Let's park right next to this Cessna Cat here. All right, that's good enough. All right, brakes are off. Let's just make sure that we finish this flight. My landings have improved. Well, thank you. Thank you. All right, so this is this tricky thing with the brakes. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Let's just see if the brakes. All right, finish flight. Boom. Cool. All right, we're going to leave this running. I'm not sure if we're going to fly again, but we're just going to leave this guy running here. We got enough fuel, leave him running. And let's go to this here. All right, so let's go to the log. The blue washout. No, well, I'm just talking about scenery in general. In Microsoft Flight Simulator, when you're in VR with the G2, and I noticed I never used the. Did I ever use a CV1 with it? No, I never used a CV1 with it. In the G2, the scenery is washed out. It's like ultra bright and just seems very washed out. All right, let's look at this. So on the way back, we made another $618. Okay, is that the right one? Yep. So total is going to be about $1,200 for the group, about $3,200 for us. Not bad. So 3-person flight, we made a little money. All right, so let's take a look at how the group is doing. So as far as aircraft, so VR Aviation, we have a. These are all the aircraft that you can fly if you join the group. We've got 2 Marins, one at each of our hubs. Our hubs are Cape May and Roanoke. We've got 2 Skyhawks. We've got 2 SR22s. We've got 2 Diamond DA62s, all at the airport, all at your disposal. We got a PC-12, which has been heavily used by one of our members lately. This guy is currently, I think, in North Carolina, or yeah, Greenville, North Carolina. And then we've got 2 TBMs for Microsoft Flight Simulator users. One at Roanoke and one at Cape May. Right now, this one is at Davidson. I actually left it there, so if someone wants to fly it back, please do. Yeah, the blocky scenery, I agree. It's not perfect, but it's still pretty amazing. Oh, Saron, let's see the faceplate. Let's see. What you had a question there? You've been loving this the G2. Agreed. Been able to actually see the airports. Yeah, from distance is great. The only problem is having the G2 now is that your big head gets squeezed by the faceplate. Wow, really? Interesting. I don't have that problem. Just so you know, they've made an insert. There's an insert modification for the faceplate. Before you get rid of it. Oh, okay, yes. Get rid of the faceplate and just go with the Velcro. Well, there's a modification for the faceplate for the G2 that is supposed to improve field of view. It's called the Franken mod or something like that. I haven't had a chance to look into it, but I know people are selling it on eBay or you can 3D print it. So, Saron, look for that. And apparently it gets your eyes closer to the lenses, which gives you a better field of view. So that might help you. You might want to check that out. All right. Anyway, so back to FSEconomy. So these are the planes we're flying. So our FBOs. These are our FBOs. Again, main hubs are. Let's do it this way. Main hubs are Cape May and Roanoke, and then we have all of these other beautiful airports that you can fly to within our network. Okay. You want to check that out. Let's talk about where we are money-wise. Ignore these two. These are mine. Okay. Aero VR is my own group where I own a bunch of planes. I'll show you the aircrafts I own. These are the aircraft I own. So I just rent these out. Some of them I lease to our group. These three I lease to the group at no charge. So, but a lot of this is how I kind of. If you want to buy a CJ4, I got one for sale. In any event. So VR Aviation, let's see, let me just put this in here so I can do a quick calculation. So we've got about almost 3.5 million in cash. Okay, pretty good. Let's take a look at the monthly statement for January. So January, this is our FBO operation. We made $92,000 income from fuel sales, ground crew and fees. Which, look at that, $57,000. It's a lot. And then repair shop stuff. So that's a pretty good number. I like to. It's not great because our cost for supplies for all of our FBOs is around $170,000 a month. Okay. So that's how much we have to make to cover our supply expenses for the FBOs. $170,000. That's the target. So there's 92 of it right there that we made. So now we go into VR Aviation, where we're going to see the fee income. Once this pulls up here, go back into January and we look at this number up here. So we had $1 million in pilots fees we paid out. Total of assignment income was $1.6 million. So $1 million in pilots fees, okay, and we had to pay out the ground crew and booking and rental expense and all that. But our net was $329,000. So add the 92 to that, so 420 around, right? 420K. Minus this, because this is what our costs were. So 400K. So we made about 400K. This was actually a donation, I think, from Cracker, I think. Yeah, I think this was a donation from Cracker. Nice guy. If you want to donate money to the group, that's awesome. Just send it to VR Aviation. But anyway, so $400,000. Not bad. So you figure 170 for our supplies for the FBOs. So that leaves us with $230,000 net profit, which is pretty good. That's quick numbers. So that's why we can keep. We could actually, if we stayed at this type of activity, and we can go to. Let's see. Let me go to the air So you can see here we had, in January, we only had, so we had 72 flights out of Roanoke. And if we go to Cape May in January, we had 106. All right. Last month we had 91, so we had a little bit of an increase. You can see here, this is when Microsoft Flight Simulator came out. It went nuts, okay? August 18th, August and September was crazy. Remember all those people trying to join FSE and all that? They had like 9,000 new subscribers and stuff. But in any event, that's tailed off quite a bit, and so we're averaging about 106 here, and we're averaging about, what did I say, like 70 at the other place. So if we could sustain that amount, then we're making about $250,000 in profit per month. It's not huge, but it's paying for the FBO costs, and it's allowing us to save up this money to buy our next FBO. I want to have a triangle network of 3-lot FBOs. So we've got Roanoke, we've got Cape May. I want to have a third that's roughly 200 miles away from those to have a triangle, and then we could hub off of that. So we need about $7 million in money, maybe $8 million. We need to have $8 million in order to do that, because we're going to probably have to pay $6 or $7 million if I can get someone to sell us one. But in any event, that's the goal. So what I do is, the way I operate it is VR East. This money is basically all fees and repairs. So as this number goes up, I use this number to buy supplies, and I try never to touch this number. That's basically how I do it, right? So when this gets, for example, up to like 50K, I'll buy supplies for another airport. Like, for example, let's look at the airports here. So like you can see here, some of these have 127 days of supplies, and some of them have 67. Well, what I'm doing is, as we increase that bank number, the VR East bank number, I'll add another 30 days so I can get all these synced up, and I just kind of keep doing that. So in any event, that the goal is to not touch this. That's the goal, because this is basically all pilot. This is all the money we're making on assignments minus pilot fees, and it's basically the money that we want to. And I'm willing to donate another $1 million to the cause. I put a lot of money into this group, but I'm willing to donate another $1 million to the cause. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm selling this aircraft here, because if I sell that, I'm probably going to put that money, just cash, into VR Aviation to get us closer to buying that hub, because I think that hub, and I want to make sure it's a hub that's going to have a decent amount of activity. It's going to bring in more revenue. But anyway, so that's where we are. We need more active pilots. We've got about, we really have 6 or 7 pilots that are really active. The more pilots that fly for the group, the better, because this number just comes up. And Skidmark is one of those active pilots. You can see here, look at the log. It's Skidmark, it's Crackerjack, it's Coyote, it's Drogi, it's Soonjar. Mouse in the House is another guy that flies a lot. And just go here. Mouse in Your House. Okay, he flies as much as he can. So, and it's me. I try to do at least 10 flights, 15 flights a month for the group. It's a little bit easier in FSEconomy, because if you can use, you can accelerate your simulator if you got long flights. I do that sometimes, because you're able to do that. Can't do that on air, but in any event, so far so good, doing well. Appreciate the flights from everyone, and again, that's the goal. If we use our on-air, does the VA offer anything over 50% pilots pay? Not now, Conrad. We're keeping it at 50 because we've got a lot to build up in on-air. We're probably going to go to 65 at some point, like we do here. Once we get some money built up, because we've got a lot of planes there, and but do you think that 50% is not attractive? Do you think we need to be higher? You think that's because we're not attracting a lot of pilots? Maybe that's one of the reasons. Do you think like if we were at 65%, we would attract more pilots? Because obviously the strength in numbers. I'm looking for advice on that. Let's see here. All right, well, I think that's going to about do it for me, guys. I just want to see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. Oh, I know. There's two things. One is on the crypto mining front. Some of you guys know that I'm using my gaming PC to mine Ethereum. You've probably heard in the news that Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies are going nuts, mainly Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I've made a lot of money on Ethereum. Not a lot, but a good amount of money. A nice amount of money, I should say. Not a lot. Good profits, I should say. All right, Donovan, it was great to see you. Appreciate that. So I used a 1080 Ti to mine Ethereum, and what I did was I ordered now you know graphics cards are hard to get, but I found a place where I could get a 1060 Ti, a 1660 Ti. So I'm actually going to be installing that when it comes, probably mid-February, into my gaming PC to increase the hash rate so I can mine more Ethereum. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm actually really thinking about building a separate GPU mining rig with 3060 Ti's, because apparently they're amazing for mining Ethereum. So for those of you interested in my cryptocurrency escapades, that's what's going on there. Let's see, Conrad. Okay. So 50% is fine. Just bought a Bonanza and was curious what benefit would be for me to use your own aircraft for the VA. Well, the benefit is that we pay for the gas and your fees. That's the benefit. So if you use your own plane and fly for the VA, you make more money. Well, you make your 50%. You're helping build the virtual airline. That's really the main thing. But the token there is that you're not paying your gas fees or ground, any of your landing fees and rent and that kind of thing. So in any event. But anyway, so Super Bowl picks. That's what I wanted to ask you guys. So you got Kansas City versus, I said the Super Bowl. Uh-oh. Supper Bowl picks. Oh, I shouldn't have said that word. Uh-oh, hope I don't get a copyright. What's your pick, guys? Kansas City versus the Bucks. So Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. I think the Bucks are getting 2.5, if I remember correctly. Let me look at the line. Your pick is COVID. Let's see. Let me look at the line. What the hell? Oh, you gotta look through all these goddamn. I'm just trying to find someone with a line. What's the line? I thought it was 2.5. I thought Bucks were getting 2.5. Three. -3, I think. That's with William Hill. Kansas City -3. This is a tough one. Brady, obviously we know he's, considered the greatest of all time, right? So I don't know how you bet against Brady, but Kansas City has a pretty solid defense and they've got amazing offensive weapons, and Patrick Mahomes is just amazing. And plus, as a Jets fan, I don't want Brady to win. Even though he's not on the Patriots anymore, I just don't want them to win. So my heart is leaning towards. I agree. Defense wins football games. I totally agree. And I guess that's what I got to look at. All right, Conrad. Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it. We'll see you on air. Thanks for doing all the flying. My heart wants to go with Kansas City, but as Take 6 says, we have to look at the defense. So the Bucs have a pretty good defense. That's why it's only -3. You know. I think they're playing in Tampa, right? So that's why it's really a pick 'em when you think about it, because Tampa's getting 3 points because they're playing at home. Yeah, well, don't forget he's got Gronk there too. So, he's got some weapons. You think they're going to win by a little? See, they need to win by at least 4. That's the thing. If you go with them, you got to give the points. Unless you go with a game, unless you go with the money line and don't take the points, and then you don't make as much money. I just can't see myself sitting on the sofa watching that game, rooting for Tom Brady. It's almost like I'd rather. I'm not going to bet a lot of money. I'm probably going to bet like $20, right? Maybe $50, but. I just can't. It's almost like I'd rather throw the money away than root for Tom Brady. So I don't know. I think Take 6, you're right. I think you got to look at defense, but I guess we shall see, right? Let's take a look around this airport. It's such a beautiful airport, and it's such a beautiful plane. All right, guys. Well, I've done enough ranting for today. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Definitely hanging out. And you think Diesel? Hey, I think it'd be a great for doing some flights on air. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to that today. I got some stuff I have to do around the house, but I may do a flight here and there. We shall see. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. Any questions, put them in the comments. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. If you have subscribed, thanks for subscribing. And oh, you mean tomorrow? You're not going to be watching football. You'll be doing some flights. I got you. All right, guys. Well, listen. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the big game. Stay safe out there. And again, thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.